Hi guys, it's me, Brandon Johnson. Today I'm about to take you for a ride on this beautiful 2014 Sea Ray 220 Sundeck. You're watching this video on my YouTube channel, which is Used Boats TV. The purpose of my channel is to show boats and show you how to use them. But remember, I'm also a boat salesman, and I sold this bad boy. So this customer is buying this boat sight unseen. So my intention is to take you for a virtual test drive.
What it really means to live life golden. We're golden, baby girl, we're golden. They're about to see it shine.
But before we put the boat in the water, first thing we do is put the plug in. Back here underneath the old outdrive, there's a hole. Plug goes in the hole, hand tight. Clockwise tightens, counterclockwise takes it out. Now, when you put the boat in the water, you put the plug in. When you take it out of the water, you take the plug out. If you keep the boat on a lift, you put it in, you tighten it up, not over tighten it, because what holds the housing for the plugs, it has 3 screws. If you over tighten that, eventually you're going to turn the housing and stress crack the fiberglass. And that's not good. So now, Billy's going to back me in the water. We're going to take you for a ride. Okay, once you've got your plug in the water, you back the boat in. You just back the boat in until you see the rear end of the boat float. Once it floats, you know you're good. So then you come back here, you raise this. When you open the engine hatch, I would recommend going underneath the handle. If you stick your hand in here like I did when I turned the battery switches on, you get caught. So just go under the handle, lift it up. Right back here, you got dual batteries with a switch, okay? It says off at the top, 1, 2, both. So there's an arrow here, okay? That's off. When we start the boat, we turn it to all. The alternator is going to charge all the batteries while we're driving. If we're going to stop and cove out, throw an anchor, listen to the radio, switch this to 1 or 2. That way we have a fully charged, isolated battery. Boat only needs 1 battery to start, and we use the other one for the radio. So, for this, we're going to turn it all. Now, just to go over a couple things back here. 50 MPI, okay? Automatic fire suppression system. Batteries are easily accessible. One thing I'd strongly recommend is to always keep a quart of mercury gear lube in the boat. 90% of the alarms that go off on these newer engines is that. Bravo 3s, they just use a little bit. Once your battery switches on, then you can start the boat. Okay? 3 things so the boat won't start. Click, 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 dead battery. If you turn the key over and nothing happens whatsoever, battery switches off, or if it's in gear, it won't start, okay? The number 1 reason why people call me after the sale and their boats won't start is the kill switch right here. See where it says off and run? If this is flipped down, the boat will just turn over and won't fire. One of the reasons why Sea Ray is such an elite brand, as well as the Brunswick connection, is that for many, many years, they've always surveyed their customers and seen what they'd like to see improved, or they've seen warranty claims. They've had issues, you know, where people are on the water, what happened kind of questions. So one thing is, you know, kids play with boat keys, or kids will break off keys in the dash by playing with them. So your ignition switch is actually right here. There's just an on and off, okay? So only one way for the key to come out, straight up. Otherwise, you put the key in, turn it on. From there, furthest away from people walking through is your start button. So stop, run, start. Just like that, and it fires right up. got tilt wheel, so you can raise this and lower it however you want it. Shifting, really easy. You just push in the button here. The Bravo 3s have incredible control. When you're docking it, if you steer in gear, you veer. So if I'm trying to make it straight over there, and I'm in gear and I'm turning, see, I'm going to turn around. Versus if you steer out of gear, you're in the clear. So when I'm teaching people how to dock the boats, I tell them don't touch the wheel and the shifter at the same time. If I want to go over there, point the wheel there in neutral. Engage it. We immediately start pivoting. Okay? Other way, reverse, just in gear, out of gear. You know, the boat's what, 23 and a half, 24 foot long? I've got complete control of this boat if you just don't get in a hurry. You know, in gear, out of gear, you veer when you steer, you pivot out of gear. It's really smooth and easy. So I know that the gauges working are very important to you. So I want to show you. Your stereo remote's right here. Works great. Okay? Fuel gauge is right here. Speedo's right here. Your tachometer's right here. Your tilt and trim's right here. So the tilt and trim's on the outdrive right here. This is going up. Now watch what happens. It digitally takes over. As you trim up, then you trim back down. When you're driving the boat, docking it, maneuvering it, you always want it down. If you want to go faster, you raise it up. I'm going to include a video in the description on how to operate tilt and trim. Be sure to check that out. Oil pressure by hitting the select button. RPM, trim once again, we're all the way down. Water pressure again, only 102 hours, 13.7 volts. Gallons per hour being used. Gallons per hour, total gas used. Speedo, or tack. Depth. Most people just leave it on depth, which I'm going to do. 17% fuel. I know how accurate these are because it's roughly 50 something feet, right around 50 feet at the no wake buoys here. Okay? So, buttons and switches. We've already checked all this out. Navigation lights, driving at night. That's the red and green and the white light that plugs in the back. In the middle's, or down's off. Anchor light's on a separate switch. If you're stopped at night, you'll turn the anchor light on. When you hit the nav light, it actually turns these on together. Okay? This switch here, this is a three-way switch. So you got different cockpit lights. Like this. There's blue LEDs in here. Scattered amongst the boat. Okay? Docking lights are the headlights up front. Blower. This ventilates the engine compartment. You should use this when you're at idle speed. I didn't because I know you can't smell in the video, but there's no fumes, there's no smoke, which you can clearly see. These motors run very clean. In fact, these newer ones have the emissions control. So, off. Bilge pump's automatic, you'll never use it, but it works too, okay? Horn. Jingle all the way. Okay. So, one thing I always do before I take off is I shut my window. Eventually this window begins to bow against the other side, so I always shut it if I'm going over idle. Billy, do you remember if I went over shifting?
Yes.
Okay. So shifting's really smooth. Now, the Sea Ray Sundecks are 3-degree bow rise, so they plane immediately. There's no trick. I don't have to hammer down. I don't have to speed up, slow down. The boat's always on plane. So what my intention in the video is now is to take the camera from Billy. We've established that everything works. And I'm going to record the helm as I accelerate, get it on the plane, trim down. I want to get the boat under a load, really see what it can do. The two hardest times people typically run boat is on their test drive or when there's a storm coming. So I got to show you how the boat feels if it runs nice and tight as we accelerate, and then I'm going to trim up. And I'm going to trim up, which releases the outdrive down there with the propellers on it to get the boat up on top of the water. Very important. I'm including a link in the description of this video on how to operate and tilt and trim. It's very basic, but I feel like as basic as it is, it'll completely teach you how to operate that, okay? So, I'm going to take this from Billy, and we're going to go down lake. Alright, I got Alright, I got this from Billy here. Now we're going to show you how she runs. So this boat planes so smooth. Now we've had a lot of rain, which kind of washes stuff into the lake, so our speedometer sometimes will read off. So I've got my GPS sitting right here, and we should be able to blow that out when we get it out of the water. You can kind of see the little stuff floating. But We see right there, I mean, the boat's already smooth and on plane. Now, very important to remember is we're running 32 miles an hour here. These trim gauges read on pressure, so I'm going to run full speed trim down. If I have my thumb on the trim up button and I'm holding it down too hard, it'll send off a like a little alarm that it's an over rev because we're putting too much pressure on the trim. So that's why it's just little clicks. If you do little clicks, it won't do that. So let's go ahead and push it hard, trimmed all the way down. See, we're getting our flow kind of cleared out. We'll blow compressed air and that'll clean that right up. But we're running 44 miles an hour. Boat runs strong, it's good and tight. Now let's go ahead and trim up. Remember, just clicks. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're really going now. 46 miles an hour. There, I hit the button too hard. So about right there. See, I hit it too hard and that's what happened. Engine overspeed. Exit. So that's why just little bitty clicks trimmed up. Okay? Now our speedo's completely clear too. Look. Told you. Let's run it some more. Trim up a little. So right in the mid 40s is where she likes to be for full speed. Now let's find a good cruise speed that's comfortable. Go ahead and slow back down here. Well, let me spin back around. The steering is so smooth. It's like a sports car. I mean, it handles extremely well. So now we're just going to find a comfortable place to cruise in the boat. Really, since I keep saying how smooth it planes, I mean, it's really how fast do you want to cruise? I mean, because right now we're running 30 and it's super smooth. About 3,500 RPM. But I mean, you can cruise down in the middle 20s too. The boat stays nice and flat. Well, remember to not touch the trim button really hard. Just smooth little clicks if you want to trim up. And it absolutely runs perfectly. All of our stuff works. Speedo's cleared out. We will run some compressed air in there to try to clean that up a little bit. And that's all there is to it. Let's go put it. Okay, so I know that putting it on the trailer is something you're getting familiar with. Familiar, if that's a word. So, putting it in the water is easy because you just back it in until you see the rear end float. Naturally, you got your plug in it. When you pull it out of the water, you take your plug out and you shut your battery off. But the only time people struggle is they get the trailer too deep in the water. This trailer is made specifically for this boat, so it's really hard to mess up. Unless the trailer's too deep. So you can see, just barely sticking out of the water, how I've got 2 boards, okay? So as long as I can get the center of the boat in that big wide area, we've got complete control, okay? So I got the boat right in the middle here, just like so. Now you see how I'm off center? So it's good to have someone at the front of the boat to just kind of point their finger to show you it needs to go that way, okay? Just like that. And then slow and steady, nothing herky-jerky. So you just give it a little slow throttle, not goosing it.
Hey, if you want, just go ahead and lower your drive down halfway, fire it up, and then come back in and be on your way.
And there's a bow eye on the boat. You want the bow eye tight up against the roller. How you been, Terry? Sold that boat many, many years ago. How you been, Terry? Oh yeah, every day of my life. So you see how I just got slow, steady applied throttle here? All I'm doing is helping him meet me flush. Okay? So I'm gonna go up and look and see what he's doing. Got it? So you see the roller and then the bow wire right there. That's a safety chain. So you put that on when the boat's on, take it off before you put it in the water. And then it's got the crank. One way tightens it, one way loosens it. Okay? Now, once you've got it up and you're good and tight, come back here and put it in neutral. One big thing I get a lot of is when you shut the boat off, your trim gauge quits working, okay? So people, you always trim it up so you don't drag the outdrive on the ground. But see how all the gauges die? People think their trim's not working, but you can clearly hear it, okay? So you trim it all the way up and then it'll go, once it goes, you're all done. Pull me out of the water. All done. Thanks, Bill. So then once you get pulled out, you don't have to do it immediate like this, but shut your batteries off. Right here. And one more time, pull the plug out. There we go. I'm going to cover a couple things in this portion of the video. So we got her pulled out of the water here. So this is the crank I was talking about. And then one more time, you see how this fits nice and tight? It's very important because otherwise the boat will buck on the trailer like a wild horse. Okay? The jack's over here. You just pull this handle. That's how you crank it to go up and down. Okay? When you pull this handle, this will click into place. Okay? This is your swing away tongue. Sometimes you got to kind of lift this up and down, and then you'll wiggle this pin out when it's unhooked naturally to swing it. So you got a 2-inch ball. This is a lock. Okay, that locks it down onto the ball if they don't have hooked up. This releases it from the ball, locks it down on the ball. This is a safety backup. Okay, so you can put this in here if your brakes are locking up in reverse. If you're backing up a hill, sometimes they'll grab. Okay, this is your wiring. So this is a 4-pin flat. Okay, and then 2-inch ball. When you get the ball on the receiver here, the hitch, the coupler, you want, if you get the ball too far back here, this lock right here comes underneath and grabs. So if you get the ball too far back, you won't be able to lock this down. So I always get my ball about right here towards the front, and then it just slips on. Okay, safety chains. Now, condition. So, I mean, you've already seen the outside. I mean, the black's nice and shiny. The white just needs a little buff. Okay, trailering. These are hubs that come off, these plastic hubs, and you can grease them right there. We've already got fresh grease in there, so it's ready for the drive. Don't overfill them. Just like if you do a lot of trailering, put 3 or 4 squirts in there, each one, once a year. That's enough. People who overfill them actually blow the seal out. So, there's the port side. Now, trimming it up when you get it on the trailer is important because when this is trimmed down, you'll hit that outdrive on the ground. You don't want that. Props are nice, and you've seen a lot of this already. But where my ADHD mind works, if I don't do it all, I won't do it. I won't be able to stomach it. Okay, Joe coat here is nice. Even the graphics are nice. Now what I'm going to do is go put these clips in, because running the boat and seeing everything working is very important to you. Now I'm taking it back. Once my guys can do a buff on the outside, wipe down the inside, I'll record that. I'm tightening up this and a few other odd and end things in the boat. We got the ignition switch all fixed up good. There she is, buddy.
Models popping bottles.